Continuing on, both SG teams are being briefed on the next mission, which involves conducting reconnaissance on the two planets they've been experiencing frequent attacks from. As they jokingly argue over which planets to choose, the Stargate suddenly activates, sending the base into complete lockdown. Everyone watches nervously, wondering if the new defense system called the Iris will hold. Carter informs O'Neill that even if the Iris fails, the self-destruct mechanism will activate, destroying the entire base and leaving no trace behind. Meanwhile, Major Kawalski, still unsettled from the previous mission, requests and receives permission to visit the infirmary. The team stands tense, observing wave after wave of enemies crashing into the Iris. They then realize the mission is on hold until the assault ceases. In the next scene, Hammond meets O'Neill and informs him that his request for Teal'c to join the SU-1 squad has been denied. The Pentagon has taken a keen interest in Teal'c, wanting to interrogate and perform tests on him, as he is the first alien subject they've captured. O'Neill becomes visibly upset, arguing that Teal'c didn't betray his own kind and save their lives just to become a guinea pig for the Pentagon. Hammond explains that a representative from the Pentagon will arrive within the hour to interrogate Teal'c, and reassures O'Neill that he will be treated with the utmost respect under his command. Despite Hammond's reassurance, O'Neill remains visibly disappointed as he is dismissed from the meeting. As Teal'c meditates in his cell, he receives a visit from O'Neill, where he is informed of the bad news. Surprised, Teal'c asks if he's a prisoner. O'Neill confirms that, for now, he is, explaining that the higher-ups are just afraid and need some time. Teal'c acknowledges this, understanding that his enemy symbiote contributes to their fear. He reassures O'Neill, vowing to do everything in his power to prove his loyalty. In the infirmary, Major Kawalski is being questioned by the doctor about the pain he's been having. Kawalski dismisses it as just a headache, insisting it's nothing to worry about. As the doctor examines him, he notices an unusual entry wound. Leaning in for a closer inspection, the wound suddenly starts moving, and Kowalski's eyes glowed. He then grabbed the doctor by the neck, breaking it in an instant. It becomes horrifyingly clear that the symbiote has taken control of him. In the briefing room, Jackson is giving a lecture about the Stargate, explaining that it's like a telephone where you need 7 symbols to dial your destination. Mid-sentence, he notices Kowalski slowly walking up to the Stargate. Concerned, Jackson quickly moves to confront him. Kowalski stands still with his arms outstretched and turns around and informs them he has no memory of how he got there. Alarmed by his disorientation, they send him to the infirmary, where the doctor explains they need to perform an MRI to determine what's wrong with him. In the next scene, Teal'c is introduced to Colonel Kennedy, the representative from the Pentagon. Wasting no time, they begin the interrogation. Teal'c willingly provides information about Apophis and his forces, but when asked about the Stargate technology, he refers to it as magic, stating it's forbidden for him to know about. At this point, Jackson and O'Neill interrupt, saying it's not magic and the Goa'uld just want him to believe that. He introduces himself to Kennedy and joins the interrogation. Teal'c explains that the enemy Goa'uld rule by force and control many worlds. Their numbers are few, but growing. Kennedy inquires about the possibility of peace negotiations, to which Teal'c responds that the Goa'uld have no need for peace. If they could kill you, they would. He further explains that there is a tale of an ancient world the Goa'uld discovered millennia ago, called the Tari, believed to be the origin of the ancient humans. This world has been lost in time. O'Neill reveals to Teal'c that the world he's referring to is actually Earth. He explains that a Goa'uld named Ra once came here. Our ancestors successfully rebelled against him and buried the Stargate. This act of defiance is why Earth now is strong enough to challenge the Goa'uld. Teal'c adds that the Goa'uld have spread humanity across the universe using ancient Earth inhabitants, but now he believes there's another rebellion is possible. Carter and Daniel are walking down the hallway when Daniel mentions that he hasn't gotten any sleep and is worried about his wife Shari. Carter comforts him and urges him to get some rest. Daniel agrees and heads back to his quarters. Just as he's about to lie down, he notices his roommate's hand. Alarmed, he quickly checks on him, only to discover that his roommate's dead. Meanwhile, the doctor's performing an MRI scan on Kowalski. He notices something strange around the Major's neck and informs him that he's been taken off duty immediately. Suddenly, Kowalski's eyes glow, and the doctor triggered the alarm. Controlled by the Goa'uld, Kowalski makes his way to the control room, finally taking it over and attempting to activate the Stargate. Carter quickly orders the Iris to be closed, which angers Kowalski. He takes her hostage and is confronted by O'Neill and some soldiers as he flees into the elevator. Carter, defiant, tells him he won't get away with this and they'll catch him when the door opens. Kowalski slams her into the wall, knocking her out. As the elevator door opens, Kowalski is once again in distress, not knowing how he got there or what happened. He is promptly sent back to the infirmary. In the infirmary, Kowalski is informed that a Goa'uld infant has attached itself to his spine, causing his blackouts. When asked if he remembered when it happened, he recalls experiencing a neck pain after the last mission through the Stargate, initially thinking he had just wrenched it. Realizing the significance, he pleads for help to remove the creature. The doctor warns General Hammond that the operation has a very low success rate. Hammond responds that he will secure any necessary assistance within 24 hours to ensure the operation proceeds. Distressed, Kawalski asks if he hurt anyone during his blackouts, and learns he killed one soldier and injured a few others. Saddened, Kawalski is reassured by his team that it wasn't his fault. In the next scene, Tycho's interrogated once again, but this time they suspect the symbiote he is carrying has escaped and infected Kawalski. He proves them wrong by showing the symbiote still resides within him. He then tells them the symbiote that got Kawalski must have been desperate, and if they try to remove it, it may kill him. Back in the operating room, Kawalski is informed that they need to communicate with the symbiote to negotiate his release. As Kawalski becomes angry and refuses, the symbiote takes control. General Hammond introduces himself and attempts to negotiate. The symbiote, however, refuses to identify himself and demands to be sent back to the Stargate. When Hammond tries to continue negotiating, the symbiote grows angry and almost breaks free from his restraints, prompting the soldiers to surround him. Suddenly, Kawalski regains control and tells the soldiers not to shoot. O'Neill reassures Kawalski, telling him everything's gonna be okay. Hammond then orders the doctors to proceed with the operation as quickly as possible. In the briefing room, Colonel Kennedy expresses interest in the symbiote within Kawalski, arguing that it would be a valuable asset for study. He then suggests prioritizing the health of the symbiote over the Major, emphasizing that the symbiote is born with the knowledge of all gold. The team is upset by this suggestion. General Hammond counters that the symbiote will not willingly share information and asserts if there's a chance to save Kawalski, they must take it. Kennedy and Hammond argue, both threatening to call their superiors. Despite the disagreement, Hammond states that he will proceed with the operation regardless. In the infirmary, Teal'c is undergoing tests. The doctor asks if the symbiote ever communicates with him, to which Teal'c responds that the Jaffa never communicates with the goal it carries. Meanwhile, as the preparation for the operation begins, O'Neill speaks with Kawalski. Kawalski shares that this was going to be his first mission as a team leader, and that he was looking forward to serving together again. O'Neill encourages him to stay strong, assuring him they will get through this together. On a lighter note, O'Neill jokingly asks if he can have Kowalski's radio if things don't go well, which prompts a laughter from Kowalski. Before the operation, Kowalski pleads with Hammond to promise he will give the order if it doesn't work. Hammond replies, "You have my word, son." Everyone watches anxiously as the difficult operation takes place. The doctor carefully cut away the symbiote and extract it bit by bit. After a tense period, the operation is deemed successful and the team celebrates. After the operation, O'Neill checks on Kowalski. They share a laugh as O'Neill says, "I told you so." In the next scene, Kennedy congratulates Hammond on a successful operation and informs him that he plans to return to the Pentagon with Teal'c. Hammond, visibly upset, points out the operation wouldn't have been successful without Teal'c's assistance. Kennedy counters, arguing that Teal'c still possesses the only living symbiote and is needed for further study. Hammond, remaining resolute, responds that he will take this matter up with the president. As the team checks up on Kowalski, Carter arrives to inform them that Teal'c will be sent off to the Pentagon. O'Neill, visibly angry, heads off to have a word with Kennedy. Meanwhile, Kowalski requests to speak with Teal'c to thank him before he gets sent off. Teal'c is then brought to the infirmary, where Kowalski expresses desire to shake hands with the man who helped save his life. As they shake hands, Kowalski orders the soldiers to give them a minute alone. Once they leave, Kowalski's eyes glow, and he grabs Teal'c by the throat, revealing that they didn't remove every part of the symbiote. He explains that it is too late, as he has already become one with the host. Kowalski then proceeds to knock out Teal'c and the soldiers before heading to the control room. In the control room, Kowalski fights the soldiers and activates the Stargate along with the failsafe, setting off the alarm once again. Teal'c regains consciousness to find the chaos and quickly informs the doctor they've been deceived by the symbiote, realizing Kowalski is still under his control. Teal'c confronts Kowalski, refusing to let him pass through the Stargate. Meanwhile, O'Neill and Hammond rush to deactivate the failsafe. Teal'c and Kowalski engage in a desperate struggle for their lives. Teal'c holds Kowalski's head close to the portal as O'Neill urgently deactivates the failsafe, instructing Teal'c to keep him in place while they shut down the Stargate. The intense action leads to the demise of both Kowalski and the symbiote. O'Neill watches in horror as his friend collapses and the symbiote disintegrates. Teal'c attempts to offer solace to O'Neill, remarking, "He was your friend. I understand." O'Neill responds coldly, "My friend died on the table," before turning away and leaving the scene. Before they embark on the next mission, Carter brings up to Jackson that the symbiote knew the failsafe code, meaning that some of the host is left even after being fully taken over, suggesting there must be still hope for Shari after all. Hammond receives news from the president, confirming his support. Satisfied, he smirks as he gives the phone over to Kennedy, before heading out to the Stargate. There, he introduces the SG-1 squad to their new member, Teal'c, and briefs them on the details of their next mission. The squad happily accepts Teal'c, and together they stand united before they embark on their journey through the Stargate.